at the age of 39, I had a heart attack, and that really changed my outlook on life, not only for business, but for fitness and health.
Hey folks, Coach Oz here back with another awesome guest on kind of this Fit Leaders Talk. Really just kind of more or less providing storylines as to how busy, leaders, I should say, from various backgrounds, various industries, and how they've kind of just really molded their current routine, kind of things that may have occurred in the past, or just kind of, really how they manage their fitness in the context of running their busy lifestyle, family, but also potentially running your own business. And then also kind of even getting a little bit of insight as to how they fit and kind of time manage their fitness, which, you might be able to take a couple of different little tidbits from that. So I want to say hi to Sheldon Payne. Say hi, Sheldon.
Hey, everyone.
He is yeah, no problem. I really appreciate this, Sheldon. I know you're a busy man. He is the owner, CEO and founder of Newfound Marketing here in St. John's. Avid fitness guy. We've known each other for quite some time now, and I just thought that certainly he has a great story to tell and a great message to tell as well. Father of two, Sheldon? Two. Okay. What's the ages of your kids?
6 and 7.
6 and 7. All right, there you go. Fun. Boy, girl?
2 girls.
2 girls. That's like moi. All right. Well, I'm coming to you for some insight as mine get on. I'm 6 and 2. All right. So really kind of, I guess, Sheldon, where we want to kind of start with this. You've said, when we kind of just chatted before that, the fitness aspect, at least being active, exercise, has been something that just, either, your own personal fitness with exercise, runs. Also, I know you're an avid hockey nut as well. And so I know fitness has kind of been your thing. But obviously, before we get to this kind of major life event, just talk about kind of where you were, what you really maybe weren't focused on. And then kind of, as we went over to the, 2017, kind of what was really the bigger focus, from exercise, but it seemed like this one aspect was something that you need to kind of really rein back in and have a bit more control. And then we'll kind of talk kind of as we get to present. But yeah, just kind of give me a little synopsis of really kind of upbringing in terms of your focus on fitness.
Yeah, well, I've always, I can't remember really a point in my life when I really wasn't fit, or at least what I thought was being fit. And I was always active. I always played a lot of sports as a kid, played a lot of sports through university, post-university. As you mentioned, played tons of hockey.
Yeah.
At some point, I think I was probably playing 4 to 5 nights a week. And then as being, a business owner as well, I always kept fitness as a part of my life.
Yeah.
But with the busy schedule that we have, one of the things that I probably dropped the ball on a little bit too much was my diet. All right. So it's the, not planning my meals properly, maybe having larger portions than I needed to have, going for the quick fix because I'm in between meetings, or I've got so much on my plate that I try to handle. And then over the course of a couple of years, all those things began to catch up with me. And then in the summer of 2017, for anyone who's not aware, at the age of 39, I had a heart attack, and that really changed my outlook on life, not only for business, but for fitness and health, and as a father and a husband and a son, and so many things. So a lot of those things then on that date, July 4th, 2017, had a huge impact in kind of where I am today and the journey that kind of, restarted.
Yeah. Okay. And we'll talk about kind of like the family bond to fitness in a little later. But like, from that, event, and like you said, I know kind of food wasn't, but really as you kind of, in that recovery phase and whatnot, no doubt it was just a gradual integration of physical activity in terms of obviously making sure that, from a heart strength and things like that. But really get into that really initial stage, kind of right shortly after, like how did that viewpoint change in terms of your health? Like what were you, you know?
A lot of things go through your mind if anyone has ever had, a big life event like that. So many things go through your mind, and obviously the biggest thing that I had to change was the way that I approached, my diet.
Mm,
So one of the recommendations that I had, and probably think one of the best things that happened was that I met with a nutritionist,
yeah.
and kind of had a lot of insight in terms of, we looked at my history in terms of, my eating patterns, and some of those things would include, sometimes skipping breakfast, going most of the day without having a meal, and then, again, having a large meal towards the end of the day. And then you learn all of these things in terms of like how that's not really a healthy system
Mm-hmm.
to have in place for your body, and
Mm-hmm.
especially for your heart.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the changes then came in terms of, what will change everything that I did. And it was almost a complete 180.
Mm,
I ate a lot of meat. My coffee was, cream and sugar.
yeah.
And then I, wasn't really a big fan of veggies.
Yeah.
So that wasn't really a thing.
Yeah.
But so a lot of the changes that I made were, I went immediately to my coffees. It's black. Now it's
Yeah.
just nothing in it, which is it's actually really good for you.
Yeah.
And adding a lot more veggies to my diet.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, especially if we go to like a family thing, my veggies are quite plain. It's just,
Yeah.
I don't have no seasoning, nothing on them, but
No, 100%.
I know I have to have them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's one of those things. I've got like, just, I need to have veggies on my plates,
Yeah.
and more veggies than meat, smaller portions. And so those are the really big changes. And I think actually there is one last big change that I made as
Yeah.
well. Prior to, the July of 2017, I was a huge consumer of milk. I would probably drink maybe up to 1.5 to 2 liters over a day, day and a half.
Really?
And, one of the things that I learned is that that's not really healthy at all. Right. So
No
one of
classic
the
bulk
biggest,
program.
yeah, exactly. Right. Like, we've always been taught that milk is really good for us. Milk
Yeah.
is, it's good for everything. It's good for our diet. It's good for our health. And, you do research and you realize that it's not. And then I changed completely. So now, like, the majority of, from my hydration perspective,
Yeah.
it's water, just
Water.
water. Very rare will I have anything outside of water. That's probably one of the biggest changes when I looked at the amount of calcium and sugar that was in milk.
Yeah,
and that change is
it's the
huge.
messaging. I mean, you are in that exact industry, right? It's the messaging of what we are taught in terms of, oh my God, how am I going to get my calcium in? I mean, so many people, right? If you take milk away, like what? Like how, what do you mean? It's, and so do you have like do you have alternative milks? Like a part of your day, a smooth, like, or is it just, you know what I mean? I'm just curious.
So I stick with just skim milk now with
Okay.
cereal, occasional almond milk. It really
Mm-hmm.
depends for the most part, but
Okay.
it's just one or the other, and it's just for only, for cereal, that I just have with a little bit here and there. And a 2 liter of milk can last me for, probably 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
Because it's just cereal as opposed to having it with every meal.
And so when you look at kind of even like stress management potentially, like, yes, you run a business and it's, you've been running it, years prior to your big event. So like in terms of like putting emphasis potentially on your sleep management or stress, like just curious to know if there was any shift at all kind of pre and post that event.
I've always been, oddly enough, I've always been a night owl.
Okay.
For the most part, like as long as I can remember, even back to university days, staying up late and whatnot.
Yeah.
Staying up late was one of those things that, we just kind of did. And I also felt more at ease doing work later in the evening. You have
Mm-hmm.
a lot of less
Yep.
distractions, so you kind of do
Yep.
it then.
I do the same.
And then, one of the bigger shifts is that we also, one of the things that I learned is how important sleep is to our bodies and to our state of mind.
Absolutely.
So making sure that, try to get at least 7 hours a night now, or sometimes maybe it was 5 and 6 before.
Yep.
Now it's like a minimum of 7. Like that's a goal
Yep.
that I
Yep.
have, and you just
Great.
feel much better. So
Yeah.
sleep is super important.
Okay, cool. Okay, so, looking at, how now you integrate, right, your fitness into your life, right? Like you said, it's kind of, just a slightly different light, making sure that you're getting it in, you're a bit more aware. I think that's probably a word to use too. It's just you're a bit more aware of where your health is, where your fitness is. Whereas kind of prior, it was like you did the workouts, like you were active, but like your actual health management, it wasn't probably like top of mind in terms of your diet and other things. So like now how do you look at it in terms of setting up your day, your week? Like what are some ways that you really say, okay, I'm valuing my fitness. I need to focus on my fitness, but from an actual integration execution part, what do you do and how do you bring it in?
One of the things that I've really been able to get to help in my fitness is the support of like my family. So, Sarah knows how important it is and that I need to get it in. So it's making time to go down and to, probably one of the big changes that I made is that I made a conscious effort to get a treadmill added in as part of my lifestyle. So it's there. Yep. And if I can't make it to the gym, because that's often an excuse for people who are quite busy, it's like,
yep.
Oh, I don't have the time to get there. And, and not necessarily for business leaders, but also parents.
Yes.
So I just made sure that I've got my treadmill here so I can get easy access to be able to go down and get my runs in,
yep.
And that's been super useful, especially for 2020 in terms of being at home for quite a bit. So yep. That's super important. I always make time for fitness. It's, it takes about 30 minutes of our entire day for me to kind of get that in.
Absolutely. Yeah.
One other piece that probably since, for January, especially with Snowmageddon and everything happening here, is that I've also, added in the workouts for my kids, right?
Yeah, so, I'm fascinated with that. You listen in, folks, because to me, I love this. I love this.
Yeah, so we do a few things like, with Snowmageddon, I started to introduce them to doing just some really light workouts, get them on the treadmill, just to do some walking, and we make time for it together, like, so it's it just becomes a part of a couple of days a week to do our thing, and it could be a mix. Like some days it might be, I could be doing a workout and they're on the treadmill, or they're doing something on the they're doing something on the mat, or they're doing something. The other days it might be we're doing a yoga session that we see on YouTube, and we do that together. There's actually a couple of really cool kids yoga kind of videos that really tell stories. Really hard. Sometimes I'm not a yoga guy, like, so they're not really easy for me. And then I watch the kids and they do them, and it's crazy. Yeah. Oh, they absolutely love it. So
they love it.
So right. That's been really helpful. And more recently, so awesome. One of my girls started doing competitive gymnastics. Mm-hmm. So she's, in a very good mindset as well. Mm-hmm. She's got conditioning to do. So to be involved with her and with both my girls, actually. So she actually leads me.
I was going to say, does your daughter take you through a little session?
She does, yeah. And one thing that I realized is that my core is very weak. So she works on her core consistently, and she's getting me to do more core work. And so it's a fun challenge.
Oh, I bet.
One thing that we used to do back in the spring is that we would finish our workouts with a plank challenge.
I remember seeing some of that on social. That's right.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I do a plank and I get to 2 minutes and I'm proud of myself.
Yeah.
And my girls are doing like 8 and 10 minute planks. Yeah. I'm just like, oh my God, it's insane. And they're so competitive with each other they
absolutely. But that's the way, right? Because, the messaging is like, well, you have to do it, right? You have to be active, kids, because they're inside. Like, you have to, if you want to be healthy. And so the messaging, even sometimes I feel, is as parents, whether it's, again, if it's not bred internally, it's not like something that's just a part of your lifestyle, then it's kind of like, well, Dad, I got to do it. And like, we're just right from the get-go, it's that wrong messaging, at least my opinion. And so kids are naturally competitive. Like either they like gym class or they do not, right? It's just, I think naturally for them too. And then the very fact, especially no question, like they probably reach, I'll say a certain age maybe to understand, like, I can challenge my dad. I can challenge my mom. Like, what can we get? Right? Can we beat them, or sister to sister, brother to sister? So, and now, yeah. So that's that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. But you almost got to perk your ego.
Yeah, and we did it over the summer. We started doing things over the summer as well, which which I as many things that come out of the current pandemic.
Yeah.
We started to be more active outside as well. So more bike rides, more hiking, and just making part of our week as well, to make sure that we get out and we get outside and we do what we can, and really take advantage of the weather that we have here.
Because we know what's coming.
When it's nice, get out. And
which I think the mental piece, even from kids, because I think now especially is like indoors, be safe, wash hands, like control space. I just, and I've seen, I've spoken to clients and just even just friends and family in that, and I've said, like, I think the very fact of getting outside, regardless, but I think that underlying benefit of in nature and utilizing activity, kids won't get it, but activity from a stress, like, hey, we're doing it as a family, we can do normal things, we can get outside and play, versus you can't go there, you can't go there. So I definitely think that is massively important. So
they love it. Like they the first few hikes is kind of like, oh, I don't want to go, I don't want to do this, and then we kind of get out and the hike is over. I was like, how was it? Oh, that was fun. So
exactly.
Right. And so it's just it's just being there. What I think the key message, I guess, is I make time for myself as much as I possibly can.
Yep.
To do those things, but also because I get them involved, there might be times where like they will say, hey, can we go down and do this? And we do that. Right. Can we go down and have our workout? I'm like, so that's
we're leading it. Exactly. The initiative. So we didn't talk about this, a little bit of a surprise question, but like in terms of your workplace, like I guess has any sort of your own values and views of wellness, let's just speak as a wellness wheel approach, has it always been a company kind of value as well? Or has there been any changes as of late in terms of just making sure that, whether it's simple newsletters, simple changes, ergonomics, I know, like you said, has there been any basically infiltration of what you value into your business?
I think there's been a little, and my team are really good. So I think one of the key things is, people have questions and I'm there to answer any of the questions. From there, some of the things that I try to really stress for our team is to keep, weekends and evenings to be theirs. And which seems really weird in kind of the business that we operate. It's an agency business, and I think in most cases there's like a negative kind of attitude that goes towards being in the agency life, that you work evenings and weekends and you work late and whatnot. But I really try to emphasize with our team, but also clients, there's times when I'll have conversations before we take a client on in terms of how we work. And so we kind of really try to manage both sides, because I think it's super important as a team kind of, when we're at work, we work, but when you're not at work, like it should be their time to kind of do what they want.
Absolutely.
Right. It's and I think that's becoming more and more of a challenge when we look at the world that we're in now. And
absolutely.
Talk about remote working, and when does that separation
actually happen?
Yeah, from the end of the work day to your home life, when you actually do all of those things in one place. How does that separation happen? So one of the things that's always been important for me after working with several agencies and being in a very kind of high-paced environment is to try to make sure that our team has an opportunity to really have their evenings and weekends to be theirs.
Awesome. Perfect, Sheldon. We appreciate that. All right. As just a last finishing thing, I mean, I know, like, even like looking at your food, how do you shape up your week, right? Is there anything that you can kind of provide to the viewers, some sort of just simple tip, like how are you managing your busy owner, obviously even like parent as well. So like when you look at it, is there one or two things that just it needs to be done each week so that it kind of sets the week up, or it just makes the managing of both either nutrition and your exercise just that much easier? So if you got anything to share, hey, go at it.
Actually, I guess it's going to probably sound really boring, but it's just
Boring
routine
can
and
be good.
repetition. It's just, yeah, it's just routine and repetition.
Okay.
A lot of them, it's a lot of the same meals over and over.
Yeah.
For instance, my breakfast for the last 3 years, it's the same breakfast day in and day out. I would
Yep.
say maybe obviously there's going to be some days that you miss it, but it's
Yeah.
just steel cut oats,
Yep.
whole wheat toast,
Yep.
and that's breakfast that lines me up for the day.
Yep.
Some of the big takeaways that I had when I met with my nutritionist was to make sure that you get in even just like a little small healthy snack in between, and not kind of just set yourself up for big meals. So like just having little pieces here and there to kind of keep your day going. Staying hydrated. The amount of water that I drink sometimes is ridiculous, and I don't know if it's an age thing or just the amount of water that I'm drinking, but the number of trips to the bathroom is nuts. But it's it's just being it's being hydrated consistently, and I find that to be super helpful. From there. And then exploring new meals. So, I find, especially like this time of year now, I find there's a little bit more time. The evenings actually kind of slow down, if that makes any sense. And looking at meals to cook and try new meals. And most of the meals that we try to cook now, if they're new, is to probably be more vegetarian. And
we're doing the same as well.
More lentils, more chickpeas. I'm not a bean guy, so it's really hard to kind of get the bean thing in there, but I'm trying.
Let alone responding to the digestive system.
So it's just, exactly. So it's just kind of, but it's trying that and finding new recipes. And we found a couple last year, and even like especially from January through April, found several that we liked, and now they're kind of added into the mix. Also, we're lucky to have, family members who are really good cooks. So it's super helpful. It does. And we look at it from like the not just like but just the family that surrounds us, and the meals that are prepped are always really good. So adding that in is good.
Last question: what are you training for, or like what's your training look like? Like, do you kind of look at it? Do you just go through the motions? I know you're a runner, but if I had to say like, hey, right now your approach to your actual, say, fitness and training, do you have a specific goal in mind, or is it kind of just, hey, status quo?
It depends. I think one of the biggest things that I noticed in probably my first year to 18 months post heart attack was cardio was good, because I was able to kind of get back to running. It did take several months before I could start again, so I was able to get the cardio piece up and running. But then what I noticed, especially when I was beginning to play hockey again, was the strength side, right? Not being strong and certain things that maybe I was a little bit stronger before, or maybe because I was heavier. I don't know. But so now putting a focus back on just not necessarily being like bulked up and big and strong, but just being stronger in certain parts where maybe haven't been strong for a while. So making sure that I get and make more time to work on strength in addition to cardio. So it's nice just finding a nice balance. And then sounds weird, but I also I probably weigh myself like 3 times a day. It just sounds really weird. I know, but it's just that number keeps me aligned. And
it's accountability metric that's working for you and how you use it. So.
And I don't have a goal weight. There's nothing that kind of says
stays, but it's easy to understand your fluctuations. So if it's going one other way, then it's
make adjustments. And one thing that we haven't talked about, I guess, is being a guy that's in technology, is so 2 things that I find to be really helpful.
Yes, please.
One is the Apple Watch. So that is super helpful for me. Like the 30 minutes kind of activity piece that you want to get in every day. There's sometimes could be Friday at 10 o'clock. And I'm looking down and I'm like, oh, I only got 15 minutes in. So then I got to go get the other 15 minutes.
Okay.
So
Yep.
that's,
I love that.
always important to be able to use. And I found the watches have been super helpful. I used to be a Fitbit guy, but I
Yeah.
switched over to the watch, and I find that they have monthly challenges that come up.
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
always, and I'm only competing with myself. It's almost like playing golf, I guess, from
Yeah,
some
exactly. Yeah.
degree.
Yeah.
I'm only competing with myself, but it's just making sure that, what can I do, and that kind of helps kind of keep me on point a
Yeah.
lot many times. The other app that's I found to be super helpful to go back to diet
Yeah.
is I started using my Fitness Pal,
Yeah.
where you actually kind of begin to track what you eat,
Absolutely.
and it is
Yeah.
ridiculous when you look at certain things that you put in your body and you
Yeah.
realize what goes in and what's there. So
Yeah. Yeah.
there's certain foods you realize like that's tastes really good,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, like I can't do that.
Yeah. I tell people like in most cases, right? Those that just, if they depending on where they are with their fitness or even body size, I'm like, they almost, I'll say a big portion of people underestimate their food and they overestimate their movement or exercise. And so they just always say like, how's your diet? Either they're denying it internally and just saying, I eat pretty good, or they really just don't understand. They don't completely, they're ignorant almost to what foods equate in terms of
Yeah.
calories and energy based on their comfort foods, or like, well, it's only a couple glasses of wine, and they don't understand what their meals, like you said, big meals especially, all add up. And that's just it. So like, I know there's, a few apps out there, but that's certainly, the most common. And like I tell people that I see with, I said, just even if someone comes to me and are like, whatever, my diet, I'm not fan, whatever. I'm like, I challenge anybody to track their food for a 7-day period, because you want a combination, obviously, of, and that's minimum. Like if you can go, but I'm like, get the weekends and weekdays and understand differences. But I said, don't change your diet. Don't change nothing. Literally eat as you would normally would, and then just step back, because it doesn't take any sort of exercise science, dietetics, any sort of nutrition understanding to be like, I'm having no water. I have one vegetable every 3 days, and I'm having this much sugar. So it's like, just be aware, right? But yeah,
that's exactly it. And like one thing that even for myself, like when after the heart attack, is
yeah,
that in terms of from an exercise perspective, I was pretty limited in terms of going and exercising. It would just be kind of walking was the biggest piece.
yeah,
But when I began tracking my food and began reducing portion size and realizing what I put into my body,
yeah.
I lost 25 pounds just from changing diet.
Wow.
Like no exercise,
Right?
change at all. Just a change in diet over
Powerful.
the course
Yep.
of probably like 6 months.
Yep.
And that's where it's a big change. And then now it's more of, again, keeping
It's bound.
strength and balance and going from there. Good sleeping, staying active, really keeping track of the food that I eat. And those are probably the 3 big takeaways.
Awesome. Well, that's, awesome, Sheldon. Really, really appreciate all that stuff. And like I said, you really got a great handle of things. Hey, just, the main thing is, like you said, it's not a shift, right? It's just now built in. It's a lifestyle. And obviously now with the family kind of component to it, you're bringing up and you're setting great examples for obviously both staff, but primarily, most importantly, to all of us all. The ones that we love most. So appreciate that. And again, appreciate your time.
No, thank you for having me. Like, this is a huge topic. I think sometimes there's many things that are overlooked, and taking time for yourself, and whether it's diet, fitness, mental stress, or whatnot. It's a lot of your audience are people who run businesses or people who are quite active in businesses. It's you're never going to get extra time. You have to make it.
No, you never will. Like if that's always the thing that you kind of hang your hat on or whatnot, it's just you'll always seek that so-called greener pasture of, oh, if I only had the more time. But no, you make it, and there's no question it can be made. And sometimes it's the tipping point, which certainly shouldn't happen. And it just is that the messaging that I'm trying to get across is just, it's so the subtle changes, right? So if you're still someone like, we always want to go to the extreme approach, because either the shiny, syndrome object, or shiny object syndrome kind of is like, I can, you can lose so much or change your fitness and body in a quick period of time. And we want that because obviously of quick gratification and how now we're pretty much brought up. But when it comes to your health, it is a marathon. It is a journey. And you just, sooner or later, it's You just got to find those pockets during the day. And how much does that mean to you to utilize those pockets of change? So again, folks, really, like I said to people, like fit leader, right? It's not mean like me being a fit leader. I'm just like, to be a fit leader to yourself first and foremost, which obviously you have kind of the apex of who you're showing, you know, being either a role model to, or showing your values to. It starts with taking ownership of your own fitness. So again, Sheldon, appreciate your time on this, and we'll talk soon, folks.